All right, here I am with the great Dr. Ivonne Bajaude, and she is a naturopath that works with me at drjockers.com. She sees people all over the world with a wide variety of different health issues, and she is really a subject matter expert when it comes to gut health, hormonal health, inflammation. So I'm excited for this interview, and we're going to jump into this topic of how constipation signals hormonal imbalances in women's health. Dr. Ivonne, great to connect with you as always.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jockers, for your kind and generous introduction. It truly means a lot to me, and I'm genuinely honored to be part of a team that is making such a meaningful difference in people's lives, people's health and wellness, and I'm on a mission to help people take control of their health naturally so they may live life abundantly like God intended.
Yep, absolutely. That's what it's all about. The abundant life and just, living. Most people are just struggling with chronic health issues and they don't even realize it. And so, I mean, that's really what we're all about, is helping people optimize their overall health so they can be a full light to the world, right? When you're sick and suffering, it's hard to be a light to the world. It's a very dim light. But when you are healthy and living the abundant life, I mean, your just light shines for other people. And one of the big things that I see with a lot of people, and I know you're working with people all over the world that deal with this, is constipation, right? In fact, one of the big things when I was seeing clients on a regular basis, within the first week, one of the biggest things was making sure that they were going to the bathroom, peeing and pooping. I always would tell them, you got to pee and poop your way to good health. And, everybody would always laugh at that. But that's so critical, right? Because it's always better out than in, right?
Yes. Yeah, so today I'd like to speak on unpacking the hidden link, how constipation signals hormonal imbalances in women's health. And this topic is especially close to my heart because I work with so many women in different stages of life who are struggling with digestive issues and hormonal imbalances. And I have seen firsthand how deeply these challenges can affect their quality of life. And again, everything is about quality of life. And when they go unaddressed, in many cases, what begins as a symptom that seems small or easy to dismiss can gradually progress and lead to a much bigger health concerns. And today we're talking about hormonal balance. As women, and often as society, we have been taught to normalize so many symptoms as just part of life. This is life, just live with it, no big deal. But in reality, symptoms are often the body's way of communicating with us. They are signals that sometimes need attention before it becomes more serious. Today, we're talking about a symptom that many women experience, many normalize, and many are taught to ignore: constipation. But what if constipation is not just a digestive inconvenience? What if one's body's early clues that something deeper is going on, especially in relationship between gut health and hormonal health? In natural medicine and functional medicine, we look at symptoms as messages, not just problems to silence like constipation. And these messages can give us important clues, and there are things that may affect our gut, particularly constipation, give us messages of how motility is being impaired, inflammation, microbiome balance, and hormone metabolism, and sometimes a combination of all of the above. So today I would like to unpack the hidden connection. And we're looking at why this matters, especially for women, how the gut and hormones influence one another, the role of the microbiome plays, liver, methylation, estrogen recycling, and microbiome diversity, and what practical steps can help support both systems. And as we're going to go beyond the fundamentals to investigate root causes when constipation is not resolved. So my hope is that by the end of this conversation, we'll see constipation as something that is not small, not something that is separate, but it's something that is meaningful, that is a meaningful signal that deserves attention, curiosity, and support.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, when somebody is constipated, we know that the food that's in their system is literally rotting and putrefying and releasing endotoxins. And those endotoxins are going to drive inflammation in the gut, and then they're going to get out in the bloodstream because, all of us have some level of permeability in our gut. And particularly people that are dealing with constipation, they already have damage in their gut lining, so that those endotoxins now are going to get into the bloodstream. And when they get into the bloodstream, it's an alarm on the body. So that toxic load is elevated. Now the body sends out signals to drive up overall inflammation in our system. And so it's so critical that we're getting those endotoxins out. And I've heard it said that when we wake up in the morning, assuming that we, ate a normal, 3 meals or whatever it was the day before, we wake up in the morning before we have a bowel movement, we are more bacterial than human cells. We have more bacterial cells than human cells. And then after we have a nice big bowel movement, we're more human cell than bacterial cell. So I've heard that said. I don't know. I haven't seen the research on that, but that is an interesting statement there. And it is just so critical that we're moving these toxins out of our system. Let's talk about the role of female hormones and how that plays into constipation as well.
Sure, that is so important. That is what's so interesting, that microbes actually have an impact in our hormones. And it all starts in our gut. So if we're constipated, it is not only affecting our digestion, our nutrition, absorption, it affects our inflammation, detoxification, and hormonal balance. Is so, so important. And it matters in women because they usually, when they're constipated, it's not a standalone issue. They often show up alongside things like fatigue, brain fog, bloating, PMS, irregular cycles, heavy periods, and other signs that the body's under strain. So one of the most helpful mindset shifts can be to see it as what else is our body telling us? And particularly with women, it affects different stages. Constipation can present itself in different ways. So, for example, as you know, women have hormones that fluctuate, and as we transition in life, they have different roles. And those shifts can directly affect digestion, which is, really interesting to me. Many women notice that bowel habits change around menstruation, pregnancy, perimenopause, or menopause. But many may not always realize how closely those patterns are tied to hormones. For example, progesterone in particular tends to slow gut motility, which can make constipation more likely. Changes in estrogen can also influence digestive rhythm and comfort, which may show up as changes in bowel regularity, bloating, or how settled and comfortable digestion feels overall. And this is why a life stage perspective matters so much. Hormonal shifts are not static. They change across menstrual cycles, during pregnancy, through menopause, perimenopause and menopause. So those changes can affect the digestive system in different ways at different times. The same symptom can mean something a little different depending on whether a woman is in her reproductive years, pregnant, or moving through midlife. During the reproductive years, some women notice constipation, bloating, or changes in bowel habits seem to flare certain points in their menstrual cycle, especially when progesterone rises. And during pregnancy, constipation, oh my goodness, that is so hard, can feel more frequent or more intense because motility naturally slows down. And of course, hormone levels are shifting, and there's often more physical pressure on the digestive tract as the body makes room for that growing baby. And in perimenopause and menopause, many women notice that digestion no longer feels the same way that it used to be, and shifts in estrogen and progesterone levels alongside with sleep, stress resilience, and metabolism can affect regularity and digestive comfort in ways that may feel new or frustrating. So the important message here is this: changes are not just in your head, and there's something women simply don't have to push through. They often have a real physiological basis. And when we recognize that, care becomes more compassionate, more personalized, and much more effective.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. And with progesterone, you were talking about how progesterone actually slows motility. So progesterone raises naturally for a woman during their menstrual cycle in the luteal phase, the back half of the cycle. Progesterone's elevated. So you're saying that basically that back half you could be more at risk for constipation the last 2 weeks of your menstrual cycle. You know, day one is when the initial bleed hits. I know you know this, but for the listener, day one is the bleeding day, right? And then day 14 is ovulation, when the egg drops. And then it's that back half, the body's preparing the uterine lining, really for fertilization. But that's when progesterone rises. So women can be more at risk for constipation during that part of the cycle.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So now that we have grounded that is in women's life experience, let's now zoom and look at the bigger physiological relationship behind it. The gut and the endocrine system are in constant communication, and this is known as the gut-hormone axis. The gut influences inflammation, metabolism, blood sugar balance, appetite signaling, and hormone processing. Hormones, in turn, influence motility, transit time, and digestive comfort, as we just mentioned. In other words, these systems are not working in isolation, and they are part of an ongoing conversation inside the body. This explains why digestive symptoms and hormone symptoms often happen together. And if the gut is under strain, hormone balance may be affected. And if hormones are fluctuating significantly, digestion may shift along with them. This is, again, what we call the gut-hormone axis. This system-based lens is helpful because it moves us away from chasing an isolated symptom toward more understanding of the patterns and how different symptoms influence each other. So we're able to, again, be more efficient in addressing not only constipation, but overall health, and today particularly hormonal health in women.
Yeah, it's key, and I also see it a lot with thyroid issues. We know that low thyroid is going to result in constipation. It's one of the telltale signs it's one of the most common signs of somebody with hypothyroidism is they have poor bowel motility, because we need that thyroid hormone to help activate the smooth muscle tissue in the intestines to help activate that. But then also, if somebody's already struggling with like a sluggish liver, gut issues, that's going to result in an underactive thyroid. It's either going to put too much stress on the system, which then the body starts to move into more of a hibernation mode and lower thyroid hormone production, or we're just not going to get proper conversion of T4, the inactive thyroid hormone, to active thyroid hormone, which most of that conversion takes place in the liver and the gut. So if they're not working well, we're not going to have proper thyroid hormone activation at the cell. So it's like that vicious cycle. Where it all started, we're not exactly sure, but if you've got constipation, you're going to have thyroid issues, and if you've got thyroid issues, you're going to have constipation. It kind of goes hand in hand.
Absolutely. And one of the clearest examples of the gut hormone relationship is something called the Estrobolome. And it's funny, every time I say that word, I think of a European city, as if there's such one with that name, but I cannot help it. Anyway, So estrobolome refers to the group of gut bacteria involved in estrogen metabolism. That may sound technical, so here's a simple way to think about it. Certain microbes in the gut help determine whether estrogen is properly eliminated or reabsorbed back into circulation. When the microbiome is balanced, that process tends to work more smoothly. And when the microbes are disrupted or the microbiome is disrupted, estrogen regulation may become less efficient. A key player here is an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase. Long word, but think of it as an unzipping tool some bacteria use to remove a tag the liver puts on estrogen so it can be sent out in the stool. When beta-glucuronidase activity is high, more estrogen gets unzipped and reabsorbed, which rises circulating estrogen levels and contribute to heavy periods, worse PMS, or flare-ups of estrogen sensitive conditions. When beta-glucuronidase activity is low, more estrogen stays tagged and is eliminated in the stool, which lowers circulating estrogen and may lead to lighter periods, more menopausal type symptoms like hot flashes and dryness, or changes in mood and bone health. This matters because it gives us another way of understanding hormone-related symptoms through the lens of gut health. It also helps explain why issues such as PMS, heavy cycles, and other signs of hormonal imbalance may sometimes have digestive microbial components as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. And so now that we have looked at how microbiome helps manage estrogen, let's take the next step and talk about how the body actually clears estrogen and what can get in the way of that process. Hormone balance is just not how much estrogen you make. It's also how well the body packages, processes, and gets rid of it. The liver plays a central role, like you just mentioned a minute ago. Methylation, a simple chemical tagging system used throughout the body, is especially active in the liver, which has high levels of methylation enzymes, and the SAMe donor system needed to modify hormones. So think of methylation as putting a sticker or a suitcase on a suitcase tag on estrogen, so the body knows to detoxify and clear it. When the liver's methylation works well, estrogen moves out. When it's slow, estrogen can hang out around and contribute to the imbalance. After the liver tags estrogen, it is sent into the gut to be eliminated. But the microbiome still has a say. Certain gut microbes, here's the interaction between these two processes. Certain gut microbes produce an enzyme called beta-glucuronidase that can unzip that suitcase and reactivate estrogen, letting it reabsorb back into circulation. So you can have a two-way problem. A liver that is not packaging hormones efficiently, methylation is impaired, and gut that has reactivated them. It also reinforces an important message. When people are dealing with hormone-related symptoms, support may need to include not only the endocrine system, but the gut, the microbiome, and the liver detox pathways, methylation. This is one reason gut imbalance can affect hormone balance in a very tangible way. So,
without a doubt. I mean, it's so key. You got to make sure that your body's methylating and clearing out those bad estrogens. I think there's no doubt about that. And again, just getting things moving through your system. I mean, it's so critical. Good hydration, electrolytes, right? Things like that, just so critical to keep things moving. Again, you want things moving through your body like a river, not stagnant like a pond. You think about a pond, you've got algae, it's stagnation, right? And in Chinese medicine, they talk about stagnation as the root of chronic disease. And when you're
Absolutely.
around a pond, just like a pond that's sitting there, no running water, it smells. Like it has an awful smell to it because things are decaying in there. And when you're around either a pond or a river that's got moving water, it smells clean and crisp, right? And that's where we want our body, things moving through like a river.
I love your analogies. I love it. I like the visuals. So going back and just going along with what you're saying, when we put these pieces together, we can start to see why bowel regularity matters far beyond digestive comfort alone. So, like you mentioned, healthy elimination is part of a body's natural process of clearing metabolic waste, including hormones. And when constipation becomes chronic, that process may become less efficient. Just like you're saying, like the pond and the river becoming stinky and smelly and not looking good. And so in our topic, what this can contribute to inflammation or less hormonal clearance. And that's important. We have seen that when those two are off, we have symptoms and they can develop to other bigger issues. So over time, this can place additional stress on patterns already linked with hormonal imbalances. And this is why supporting regularity can be such an important foundational step. It is not superficial goal. It's a way of helping the body return to rhythm. And for many people, that is one of the earliest and most practical ways to begin supporting the bigger picture. So, what does support actually look like in everyday life? In natural and functional medicine, we come back to the foundations again and again and again because they shape physiology every single day. And this is such an important concept. So I would like to speak of a few things, the fundamentals, the anti-inflammatory diet. So how are we going to approach this? So think of your plate like a rainbow. The more colors, the better it is for your gut. Eating a wide variety of plants provide different types of fiber, and each fiber feeds different bacteria. That diversity keeps your microbiome balanced and helps stool move more regularly. It also supports the Estrobolome, the gut bacteria that metabolizes estrogen. So your hormones stay more stable and of course include healthy fats. That is so important. Things like nuts, seeds, olive oil, avocado, and quality proteins. Fatty fish, particularly like salmon, is especially helpful for hormonal support. And as far as vegetables, cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, aid liver detoxification pathways that clear hormones, and orange colored vegetables and produce in general, like sweet potatoes, carrots, squash, adds phytonutrients that support hormonal health. And finally, avoiding foods that you know you react to or sensitive to, like some individuals are sensitive to dairy and gluten, but generally, we don't do well with processed sugars and processed foods. That would be very inflammatory and counterproductive, both to our gut and our hormonal health. Another thing that I find is super duper important when you're talking about fundamentals is optimizing digestion. Many people are very into, very what they call clean diet and what have you, but it really doesn't make much of a difference if you have a wonderful, beautiful diet and if your digestion is not good. So good digestion isn't flashy, but it changes everything. When food is broken down, nutrients get absorbed and waste moves out on time. That reduces bloating and constipation and keeps your gut happy. And in turn, it helps it helps hormones behave. Small things like chewing well, supporting stomach acid if needed, and using digestive enzymes when appropriate can make a big difference. Now, you mentioned hydration and electrolytes. I think water is one underrated gut helper. because it softens stool, it makes easier to pass. So aim to sip regularly throughout the day. And when you're well hydrated, your colon can do its job and then do it well. And that's in turn supports the microbiome, and the estrobolemes work with the hormones as well.
Yeah,
Another
that's
one.
super key. That's super key. And you want to consider your transit time. So it's like the time between when you eat the food and when it gets out of your system. I always say 24 hours or less, right? So if you ate lunch at 12 o'clock, the waste from that meal ideally should be out of your system by 12 o'clock the next day. If it's in there any longer than that, it is going to rot and putrefy and create more toxicity in your system. So it should be moving through your system pretty quickly. So if you're eating 3 meals, you should have 2 or 3 bowel movements, right? That day, right? And that's critical. And the most important times too are in the morning. Your bowel is most active between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. and then after meals. Those would be the times that you really should be having bowel movements. There are some people that tend to have them at night before they go to bed. And that's actually like a distorted rhythm, kind of like a poor circadian rhythm. You should really be moving stuff out in the morning and then also after meals. And that's really ideal here. And one thing you can do is eat some beets if you want to track your transit time. I don't know if you've taught about this, Dr. Ivonne, but yeah, you eat some beets. Let's say you have it for lunch today. And then you just watch your stool. Your stool is going to turn kind of reddish, purplish. And it's not blood, right? And so it's actually
And remember,
yeah, exactly. Don't get too freaked out. Right? But if beets coming out, and beets will actually help. They're great for helping stimulate bowel movements, but you'll also be able to track how long things are sitting in your system based on that.
absolutely. And for those who don't like beets, corn can also be helpful. And of course, some people
Yeah,
don't like
peas
corn,
or
but there's
something.
options that also is very obvious with transit time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's go to another fundamental, glucose regulation. Oh my goodness. Balancing your blood sugar matters for digestion and hormones. Actually, it's so important systemically. But when insulin gets out of whack, inflammation can increase and gut motility can slow down, which can worsen constipation. So balance your meals with protein, fiber, and healthy fats to help you keep your glucose steady and protect both your hormones and your mood and your bowel habits. Now, exercise and movement. Moving your body moves your bowels. What a concept. Even short walks after a meal stimulates intestinal activity. Regular exercise also boosts your microbiome diversity. I just love that. It just makes me so happy to know that exercise boosts your microbiome diversity, which supports your estrobolome, again, that European city. So movement helps both regularity and hormone balance. Sleep. Sleep is when your body resets, including the hormones that control digestion. Poor sleep can throw off cortisol and melatonin rhythms, and that's what, Dr. Jockers just touched on, and lead to constipation or irregularity. So prioritizing consistent restorative sleep helps your digestion and your hormones work together more smoothly. And lastly, the last fundamental, stress management. Stress puts the body into fight or flight, and that slows your gut. Chronic stress raises cortisol. It disrupts motility and can throw hormones out of balance. So simple practices, a few minutes of deep breathing, meditation, a quick walk, can calm the system and help digestion get back on track. Now, how many of you can relate with this practice of eating? Eating while working, in front of the computer, or driving. Now, the new thing is, what do they call it? Dashboard dining, multitasking.
Haven't heard that term.
Yeah, multitasking, having a meal while discussing a stressful topic. Oh my goodness, avoid that. Totally. That state of stress while eating makes your body less efficient in digesting, absorbing, and our topic today, eliminating your food. So make sure that your goal when you're eating is to eat in a calm environment, relax, relax, and that will actually optimize your digestion. So none of these need to be perfect overnight
Yeah.
by any
You know
means.
what I always tell people is take a few deep breaths before you eat. And this is actually and put yourself in a grateful state. Like I know Dr. Ivonne, you and I, we pray before our meals, right?
Amen.
And that act of prayer actually activates our vagus nerve, our parasympathetic nervous system. And if we're in fight or flight, we're not going to digest our meal well because fight or flight is antagonistic to good digestive juice production. You know, we're not going to be able to produce stomach acid, bile, pancreatic enzymes to digest our meal. So by switching, by like a prayer, for example, that can help switch you. Deep breathing can help switch you into that parasympathetic tone so you can start activating good stomach acid production, good digestive enzymes, pancreatic enzymes, and bile. So that way you can really metabolize your food properly. You need to be in that relaxed state. So say a prayer, be in a state of gratitude, and take the time to chew your food and to enjoy the food.
Absolutely. And you know,
And
sometimes
even before the meal, smell the food, right? That
oh
also
yes,
helps stimulate it, right? Put in some good herbs, basil, oregano, thyme, cinnamon, right? Different things that have really good aromatic compounds to them that smell good. That will actually also activate the vagus nerve. In fact, oftentimes you'll start to salivate, which is a good sign. That's a good sign you're ready for to eat.
absolutely. And you know, our digestion really starts even before we put food in our mouth. So that is why it's so important to, you know, optimize that state. So anyway, going back to that, we don't need to be perfect overnight. Pick one small change, like you said, you know, in this case, say a prayer, you know, make a calm environment while you eat. But pick one change this week, for example. It can be an extra colorful serving on your plate, drink an extra glass of water, or take a 10-minute walk after dinner, and notice how you gut response. So it's always better to take baby steps, they accumulate and make a difference than try to make giant steps and they get dissolution. So these fundamentals may sound simple. They're easy, but they're not minor by any shape or form. Actually, they are therapeutic. And perhaps the most encouraging message for our audience is this: improvement does not usually come from doing one thing perfectly. It often comes from doing basics or fundamentals consistently enough that the body has a chance to respond. And this is where sustainable change lives. And now, if people take away one practical point from today, let it be this: the foundations are powerful. They're worth revisiting with patience and intention. So start with a gentle self-check of those fundamentals we just mentioned. Ask yourself, is your diet high in fiber and full of colorful plant foods? Or does it lean toward more processed, inflammatory choices? Are you moving enough each day, or could you add a little intentional exercise? How is your sleep? Are you waking up refreshed? Do you feel generally calm, or you're frequently tense? Are your blood sugars steady, or do you experience dips and spikes? So auditing these fundamentals reveals practical steps you can take to begin optimizing digestive health and hormone balance.
Yeah, no doubt. Super key. So, you know, we talked about a lot of things: hydrating your body well, making sure that you're coming off of processed foods. I found fiber, a friend of mine, Cynthia Turlo, she says fiber is the new F word, right? And the reason why is that some people do great on fiber, some people not as well, right? And so fiber is kind of like a bell curve. Some people are on the side where they do well on a very high fiber diet, and there are other people that do better on a lower fiber diet, particularly lower FODMAP based fibers. And so you got to find the right fibers that work best for you. But good hydration across the board is so critical. Relaxing your body, I think, is super, super important. And finding a natural rhythm, like we talked about, going in the morning. Some people getting out and taking a walk early in the day really helps them. For other people, it doesn't. For other people, sitting still, right? Drinking a warm beverage. Warm beverages actually, like a hot tea or a coffee or something like that, can actually activate peristalsis in your gut. The warmth activates the vagus nerve. Ginger tea. Ginger itself is a really great, it's pungent herb, and that pungency helps activate the vagal tone as well to stimulate peristalsis and get things moving in your gut. So some really great takeaways there. Dr. Ivonne, really great topic as well. And, I know you're working with people all over the world. People can reach out to you at Dr. Ivonne, Ivonne, at drtoctors.com. You're working with people with a wide variety of different health issues. What are some of the most common issues that you're seeing in your virtual health clinic?
Yes, and so if I may, one last thing, if there's one message I hope stays with our audience is this: constipation can be an early sign that body needs support. And it's not something to automatically dismiss or simply push through. By supporting gut health, we can improve not only comfort and regularity, but also resilience, energy, and hormone metabolism. The path forward begins with the fundamentals, but it doesn't end there. If symptoms persist, curiosity is appropriate and a deeper assessment may be needed. So the most effective care plans are thoughtful, personalized, and built around the whole person. And like you mentioned, an example of that would be fiber, because some individuals don't tolerate fiber very, very well, and that is actually an indication that the microbiome may be in trouble. So really digging deeper sometimes is necessary to get to the bottom of it when the fundamentals are not enough to make that shift. And things that need to be investigated would be things like food sensitivities, infection, toxic burden, how well your elimination organs are working, like the liver, methylation, and so forth. So again, a simple reminder: the body often gives gentle signals before bigger problems develop, and those signals are worth listening to. And constipation may seem small, but it can reflect a much bigger conversation happening inside the body, one that involves digestion, hormone balance, and overall well-being. If this topic resonated with you, begin with the fundamentals: nutrition, hydration, movement, rest, stress support, and awareness of your patterns. Dr. Jockers just talks so many times of those patterns that matter and that give you signals of what is going well or not. And if symptoms have been ongoing, don't hesitate to seek support that looks deeper. So you don't need to settle for feeling uncomfortable, dismissed, or confused. With the right support, it is possible to move forward. Better digestion, better hormonal balance, and a greater sense of trust in your body. So thank you for having me, Dr. Jockers, for inviting me to speak to our community about often hidden connections between digestive health and hormonal balance. I really appreciate the time to share these practical steps that can truly make a difference. It is possible to take control of your health so you can live life abundantly like God intended.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was asking about what the most common issues that people are working. That obviously you're working with people all around the world. What are the most common conditions that you're seeing out there that you're working with people?
Interestingly enough, digestion is a big one. Inability to sleep is another one. And actually, this, like we talked about it, they come together. I have a lot of individuals that are looking to balance their hormones because they're going through different stages of life, and it's very challenging. I particularly have women that really want to age gracefully and go through the life stages in a way that is seamless. It's like, and so that is being proactive. I also see individuals that experience anxiety, depression, and interestingly enough, it's also related to the gut. So going back to the gut. Another population that I see is people that have autoimmune conditions. autoimmune conditions sometimes are difficult to diagnose or find. But again, going back to the gut, it just goes back to the gut. So again, we're addressing the gut once again. So, and if I were to put it in a nutshell, I tend to work with complex chronic conditions. So my job is to unravel them and figure out what are the root causes. How can lifestyle interventions can help bring balance back, and also finding other things like different organs or different systems involved in that person's imbalance so that they can again enjoy life abundantly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're doing a great job working with people all over the world and really figuring out these root cause factors, looking at labs, looking at personalized health questionnaires, and figuring out, doing interviews with people to figure out what is the root cause or root causes of their chronic health conditions, and then setting up customized health plans to help people get better. Guys, if you are not working with a health coach, Dr. Ivonne is amazing. You can reach out to her, just Ivonne at drjockers.com. That's the way to reach her. And of course, you can email us, my team, at info@drjockers.com if you have other health questions. But Dr. Ivonne is a great person to reach out to, great person to work with. So definitely do that. She is an expert in gut health, hormones, all these different things, working with people all around the world. So Dr. Ivonne, again, thanks so much for your time. Great topic today. And everybody, be blessed.
Thank you. Bye-bye.